Hello and welcome to this edition of Icon. I'm Ji Xiang, together with the icon of the day. Welcome, Fei Xiang. Welcome, good to see you again, and welcome to Icon.
Thank you, thanks.
Well, being in this business, I guess we have so much to talk about. So what we're going to do is basically I've prepared some keywords, and probably we can start our conversation based on these keywords. Right. The first one, obviously, is easy for you, right?
Oh, of course, yes.
Human. But
yes.
yeah, our viewers might not know what this is, but it is actually the name of your new album.
Yes, actually, my new album, Human, it's quite interesting. I didn't actually expect at this point to release a new album, but I was just collecting songs over the years, especially with one particular songwriter in Beijing who's very talented, Kris Fei Xiang. And every time I would go to his work studio, he'd play for me some new songs he'd written. And I just kept collecting. Whenever I heard one I liked, I said, give me that one, give me that one. And I just started collecting. And then by the time before I knew it, I had an entire album of music. And it was quite a complete expression musically. So I thought I would put it together. And the name of the album is Human.
Well, yes. Why Human?
It's interesting. This music is very electronic in nature. And it's actually a much more wide-ranging kind of themes in the songs. I mean, when I was younger, I would sing a lot of love songs, and
still love ballads now.
A few, but not so many. Actually, Chinese popular music is full of love ballads.
Songs,
it's love songs. It's love songs. But at this age, I feel a lot of the things that matter to me are dealing. A lot of the songs in the album are dealing with themes of what are our deepest desires, what are our challenges in life, disappointments, what are the things that really matter. And so it's a much more wide-ranging kind of album in terms of themes. So it ended up that Ren, Human, would be the title.
And you didn't really get the name of the album when you first started recording the album?
No, it was at the very end, yeah.
Right.
And then the biggest challenge at the end was what to do about the cover, because when you have a...
We see that. Very eye-catching, I have to say.
Well, it's amazing, because I was like really having a hard time, like, okay, what do I do for the cover now? Because I'm so tired of my own photos.
Well, we're used to things like that, and pictures like these, they're beautiful, we like them, but all of a sudden...
But,
is it you?
That is it's my X-ray. Actually, I went to the hospital specifically to take that X-ray, and at the time they thought I was losing my mind. They said, "What?
It's cost effective, though."
Yes, actually, and I said actually what I really wanted was to show myself actually in the most realistic and the most human possible way, and actually get beneath our exterior. I think it's so important now, especially there's too much emphasis on looks, on everything, skin color, your age, your everything, all this kind of like cosmetic surgery and all this stuff. And I really wanted to just get past all that and just say, look, we've got to face the reality that all of that is temporary anyway.
You've been through all these different ages, through a cassette or CD, or
vinyl.
Now it's digital. It's not just the mediums. It's also about the total environment and the fans that we're talking about. We're now talking about a new generation. And all these changes are happening so quickly every day. Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it, because I'm not if I was 20-year-old, I'd have to deal with it all, really on its level, and I'd have to compete on this level in this environment, Now, I can kind of be above it all and past it all. But I mean, I have my audience base, which I'm very, very happy to have that very deep emotional connection with. And the 20-year-olds, they know there's this person, Fei Xiang, that their mother is very fond of, but it's, it's kind of like somebody that you see on television, and, you see, it's like, oh, yes, I know about him, but he doesn't represent my generation.
No.
And I'm very, very clear about that. I think that's something also that, as an entertainer, especially in pop music, you have to be very aware. You have to be really brutally honest with yourself that popular music is something that goes from one era to an era to an era. And you can be the voice of one era. But really, it's something that, you cannot, as a 50-year-old, think that you're going to be able to sing or perform what a 20-year-old feels.
how do you see the music industry as it is now? I mean, it's changing
Well,
a lot.
it's changing a lot. I mean, all over the world. The internet is disrupting all the old systems and all the ways.
Rules are changed.
Everything. In some ways, it's a shame because it means that there's going to be a lot less professionalism, to be honest. I worry a lot about how songwriters are going to make a living, like songwriters, lyricists, those people that need to...
Who create sounds.
Who create music.
Yeah.
They need to have intellectual rights to their property in order to make a living. They can't just do it as a hobby. So who's going to pursue songwriting or composing or lyric writing as a professional career in the future? With the internet, yes, everybody can get in on it. Anybody can go on you can install the hardware on your computer, record an entire album. You can even do the mastering on your computer and put it straight onto the internet and release your album. Yes, everybody can do it, but what it means is professionalism is out the window, okay? It means that it's a free-for-all. Yes, there's going to be a lot more stuff. There's a lot more accessibility for everybody to do things. But where's that threshold, that says this is a professional musician?
In the summer of 1981, Kris Phillips began his career in Taiwan under his Chinese name, Fei Xiang. His debut album, Lingering, simultaneously topped charts in Taiwan, Singapore, and Malaysia. In 15 months, he had recorded, released, and promoted 4 albums, starred in 2 TV specials, a feature film, and performed a series of one-man concerts. However, it was the CCTV Spring Festival Gala that changed Kris Fei Xiang's career.
We move on to the next keyword. You actually mentioned it already. Chunwan, the Spring Festival Gala.
It's really hard to explain to my friends in the States.
How important this is to Chinese.
And the viewership. I mean, when I first went on the Spring Gala, the viewership was, if you have, 700 million viewers watching one television program, it's crazy. But I think that it's basically, the way to put it is it's the one time of the year that everybody has the TV on. They all have it on, and they're all watching it together, the whole family. And I guess the only thing you can compare it to in America is almost like the Oscars.
Oscars or Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, something like that. It's the once-a-year event that even if you're not into it, you still watch it because the next day everybody's going to be talking about it. So you better damn well watch and know what's happening.
现在呢，我给大家介绍一位在台湾出生的著名歌星费翔先生。
天边飘过故乡的云。
On the Chinese New Year's Eve, 1987, Fei Xiang made history by becoming the first performing artist from Taiwan to appear on China's central television. The mainland Chinese audience had never seen or heard anything like it, especially on state-run national television, and Fei Xiang became an overnight sensation.
熊熊火焰温暖了我的心窝，每次当你悄悄走进我身边，火光照亮了我。
You were at the time known as the first singer from Taiwan,
yes.
And when you came on TV, you were so different.
Yes.
If compared to other singers that we were so familiar with,
Yes.
and all the moves you did with your what was it called? Winter Fire or
Winter Fire and Clouds of My Homeland.
Exactly.
Yes,
And your moves, everything, being repeated by millions, I guess, singers nationwide.
It was actually, it was a lot of pressure at the time because I was the first Taiwan pop singer to cross the Strait to come over to the mainland and go on China Central Television.
Yeah.
Actually, around that time, it was right after the economic opening, and there were a lot of families making contact across the Strait who had not been in contact, including my own. My mother made contact with her mother, and they had not been able to make contact for 40 years. at the time. So there were a lot of families making contact at that time, and really, I thought at the time, in addition to my own family story, my wanting to come to Beijing to visit, to see my grandmother for the first time, I also felt it was important at that time I could be the first to bring Taiwan pop music into the mainland properly. At the time, there were other singers considering it, but nobody dared make the first move. Everybody was like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And then at the time, I said, well, I thought it would be right for me to do it. And I really didn't know how the audience would respond. And to be honest, I actually have to always be grateful to the director of that edition of the Spring Gala, Deng Zaijun, and also the leaders of the TV station, because they could have gotten in big trouble,
Because the way you sang, the way you were dressed, and everything was so different.
It was so different, and at that time, they took a huge risk. They put a huge risk on me. So I felt a lot of pressure. I really didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to cause any trouble for them. And also at the time, I also really wanted to represent Taiwan pop music the best that I could. I wanted the audience in the mainland of China to see, oh, here's this singer from Taiwan. Well, what's he like, There were a lot of things at stake, much more than my own, career or anything like that. But thankfully, everything worked out great.
When you realized you were so famous now on the Chinese mainland, and then what was your response at the time?
I really was so happy about it. I didn't expect it, to be honest. I didn't even know really what the audience response would be, if they would be able to accept my style or the kind of songs I was singing, because it was very different from what was currently on television in China, in mainland China. It was very different. But I was very happy that they could accept the songs and they could get into the music on my, on my album. And then, I think that I immediately felt, well then, I really have to, do my best to just, push Chinese pop music forward, get it going. Because at the time, they were listening to maybe some, Teresa Tang, a bit of her songs, but really, I wanted to give it a huge push. So, I brought in, musicians from Hong Kong, and I was recording in Guangzhou, and releasing albums, and then
having tours,
doing a concert tour, with lighting rig and everything brought in from Hong Kong. It was quite difficult at the time, but really worth it, because I think at the time I was able to make a good contribution to the development of pop music in the mainland.
Fei Xiang's sounds were heard everywhere, and his albums broke all previous sales records. In 1990, Fei Xiang left for New York with the stated goal of working on Broadway. The first show he auditioned for was Miss Saigon. In 1992, Kris toured the United States as a soloist in the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber. In 1995, he was invited again, this time with Sarah Brightman.
This is the next keyword. Musical. It seems you always have a dream for musical productions. And that's why all of a sudden, after your appearance on that, Chunwan, the Spring Festival Gala stage, after you became such a successful, huge celebrity, and all of a sudden you disappeared.
Well, yeah, I released 5 albums, and then and I did a whole nationwide concert tour, and at that time,
is it 65 concerts?
65 concerts, stadium concerts, and it was.
And your album sold for 40 million copies.
It was a lot of copies. Yeah, I felt at the time of China, at that time, I'd done almost everything I could. I mean, I could do another concert tour, I could do another album, another 10 albums, really, but I thought that I should, at that time, try to expand my own, I should say, capacities as a performer. And I thought also before I get too old, I should maybe try going back to getting some vocal training. So I went back to New York, and I got a voice instructor for 1 year, a full year of voice instruction to really hone my vocal skills, my vocalization. And then I auditioned for Broadway, which was great because the first show I auditioned for was Miss Saigon. And it was just when it was
the
just
Miss Saigon,
out,
right? Yeah.
which
and
was,
Weber's.
actually, it was just coming into Broadway, the production from London, and it was the original cast, and there were a lot of actors.
You had auditioned, went to the auditions,
And
just like everyone else.
I just lined up with everyone else, and I went. That day, I think they were seeing like 300 plus people, and for me, it was so great because I just thought I'm just going to line up with the other guys and just try to get a job in this show.
But was it a difficult decision? Because back in China, you were such a huge celebrity, and all of a sudden, it seems you would have to start from scratch again.
I wanted that anonymity. I wanted to just go in and see if not knowing anything about Fei Xiang or anything about that, if I could just, in an audition room with 16 bars, if I could get that job.
And that's you.
Yeah,
that's
and
your
that
capability.
really is just, down to the bare bones. And I went through about 5 rounds of auditions, and then I got into the original cast, which was great. And so I started my work, with musical theater. And I just thought it was so great to prove that to myself, and to get through that, and to have that wonderful experience working in musical theater. Because after Miss Saigon, then I started working with Andrew Lloyd Webber in his concert tours, and I would never be the performer that I am now if I hadn't gone through that phase of learning and expanding my own, I should say, knowledge, really, about performance.
Tremulous and tender, turn your face away from the garish light of day. Turn your thoughts away from cold, unfeeling love.
What was the life like in New York when you were performing on stage?
It's so wonderful because it's so quiet. It was so much more private, so much more
professional.
Yeah, and I could be on stage, singing, excerpts from Phantom of the Opera or something like that, and then coming out the stage door, it's completely myself.
As a person.
It's my own
You can
environment.
still take the underground.
Yes,
to go home
and have a normal life, have a normal. I could meet somebody. Like if I meet people in the States now, they don't know who Fei Xiang is, which is quite wonderful. It's quite wonderful because I can just use my English name and say hello. I'm Kris, and then it's like, oh, okay, what do you do for a living? Oh, I usually say I'm in music production, in China, and then you can have like a normal conversation, and you can actually ask them about what they do.
On June the 1st, 1997, Fei Xiang performed again in China for the first time in over 7 years for the historic occasion of Hong Kong's return to China. Kris has officially returned to the public eye. In addition to his signature Chinese pop songs, some of which had now become standards, he also introduced some of the musical theater repertoire which he had performed during his years in the US.
This is the next keyword. This is actually a translation of a song. I'm not quite sure if this is the right one, but in Chinese it's 一个人.
一个人, yes.
And I take the liberty of translating some of the words actually
Yes.
of this song. Basically it says, sometimes when tired I would also want to have a hug. Sometimes when wandering the city and the streets I ask, who is waiting for me? And sometimes feeling a bit sad. No matter how many friends you have, you can't really share everything with them. Awake alone, asleep alone. I ask myself, how long is this going to be? Is it a message you send to yourself?
When I was singing the song, I had a lot of feeling about it. I think that sense of loneliness and isolation. Actually, is even more appropriate a word.
Okay.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time alone in hotel rooms, just because of work. But I think that for me, actually, when I was singing the song, a lot of it also I felt the sense of just who really knows me, that kind of isolation, that kind of loneliness. Who are the people that really know me as a person, or know who I am? Not the image, or not the thing that everybody sees on television, And those people are so precious to me. Those people that really know me. Really, there aren't many. It's just my really closest friends, my family. So I think that the realization of that is what hit me pretty hard when I was recording the song. And actually, for the album, for the booklet, I took a special picture. I went actually to Marilyn Monroe's tomb. You say her crypt in Los Angeles. I went specifically to visit it and to take a picture of her because I just the crypt, and I included it in the album notes. It's a very interesting thought because why I should be inspired to do that. Because I thought, as famous as she was, and as so many people knew her or knew of her, but she still felt so alone. She felt that nobody really knew her, understood her. And that sense of isolation, it really was the only thing it was the first thing that came to my mind when I was performing the song. So I actually went to Los Angeles, I took the photographs, and when I recently did a mini concert for the album, during this song, I had on all the projection screens, I had images of Marilyn juxtaposed with her crypt.
I mean, as a guy in your age, and many of them would probably say take a step back and retreat to their family life. So how do you see relationships, and how do you see the issue of relationships? Well,
they're the most important thing, in the world, really. I mean, especially when you get to this age as a man, I think, when I was in my 20s and 30s, it's career. And gosh, I've got to make money. I've got to buy my house. I've got to, get these things in order. You're competing. You're struggling with your career. A lot of times, the 30s are always that phase, and then the 40s, you start, consolidating and figuring out, okay, what did I do? You kind of come out of it.
To settle down.
Yeah, and then you start thinking about it, and then. Now, actually, I'm in my 50s. I'm in this period of my life where I feel, gosh, I can see much more clearly what are the things that really matter. Yes, you've got to have your house paid for. You've got to have money in the bank. And you have to, if you want to make your mark in your chosen field, you better have done it by this time. But really, at the end of the day, what are the things that are really going to matter to you? Like when you're on your deathbed, when you're thinking back, are you really going to be thinking about that car you bought, or that house that you own, that mansion, or that, it's not. It's all about the people. It's all about those people in your life, the ones you loved, the ones who loved you. That's it. That's it.
Are you going to continue doing what you do as a celebrity, as an artist, or you've thought about maybe one day you're going to retire?
Oh, of course I'll retire. I think in a few more years, probably. For me, I think the threshold is, my voice is in very, very good shape at this point. I can still sing every song exactly as the audience remembers it. So it's not at all the sound coming out of me on stage. It's like, oh, this is the song. When they hear it, they go, this is the song I know. This is the song I love. And as long as my voice is in good shape, I still feel, I'd be happy to continue singing. But the minute I feel like, okay, that's starting to go, then that'll be the time when I can pack it up. Yeah.
When film director Wu Ershan invited Fei Xiang to portray the evil sorcerer in his fantasy epic Painted Skin 2, the sinister role of the murderous sorcerer was the total opposite of Fei Xiang's public image and the perfect opportunity for his return to the silver screen.
We do have one more keyword, and this is Stanford. You studied at Stanford.
I did.
But you
I
started medicine first and then moved on to drama.
It was a pretty big shift. I realized that my real passion was actually performing. So after my first year of pre-med, then I talked to my parents and I switched to drama major.
I've seen you star in some movies like the Painted Skin 2.
Yes, yeah.
Literally, you were playing a
sorcerer.
Voldemort kind of
very extreme
evil spirit.
Yes,
you were playing ugly or playing evil.
Yes.
So back to who you are. I mean, all your look and your background, the fact that you have both American Chinese origins and everything. Do you see it as a kind of a burden, or you want to break away?
I think that every performer has to deal with what you've got. You've got to play the game with the cards you're dealt. Okay, and for me, my Eurasian heritage at the time in Taiwan was very interesting, very unique, but also very limiting. But for me, I think that at this point, it's much more about the material. Like if you give me a great song to sing, I'll be extremely, extremely motivated. Like a role, like in Painted Skin, it was so different from what the audience knows me as.
Expectation.
Yeah, and I just thought, this is going to be a great kick, because when I first come out on the screen, I know the audience is going to be like, what? I was like, can't be it. There were actually a lot of audience that went through the entire film and going, I thought Fei Xiang was in this film. Wasn't he in this film? Where was he? Because they didn't even recognize me in the film. So for me, that's a great thrill. I love that. Are
you not working on a new project?
Yes, actually, this year I'll be doing another film, I think. I think it'll be interesting as well. But to be honest, I really have to be careful with films because they take up so much time.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't have that many years left. Honestly, so when you're 20, you can say, sure, I'll do a film. I'll do a year. I'll film for a year. What difference?
But if you want, the companies won't.
But at this point in my career, I know I have limited amount of time. I want to make the maximum use of it and do the things that really interest me.
Looking forward to seeing more in films and hearing more songs from you, Fei Xiang, Kris Fei Xiang.
Thank you
once
so
again.
Much. Thank you
for coming to the studio. Thank you.
音乐像花的冷香，偷偷攀到心房，缠得人心里好慌，却又舍不得放。在我左边的心房，刻下永恒两行。你让我那么渴望，忘了爱的无常。欲望的边界，谁在徘徊？ 我无从了解爱与恨，背靠背。Can you hear me? 好像太阳，温柔仿佛月光，在你的眉眼之间，有着我的天堂。我想要去到远方，却留